Cain, Ek, Tu, Poneru, Ain, Kai, Esfasen, Esfaxen. Yeah, that's a hard one to say. Tone, Adelphon, Altu, Kai, Karin, Tinos, Esfaxen, Alton, Hote, Ta, Ergo, Altu, Ponera. Marilyn, can you go out there and song? Ain, Ta, De, Tu, Adelphu, Atu, Ikaya. Now the first little thing there, that comes from ook. Ook. And it's an adverb of negation. It means more than not. It means not leave. In other words, it's an active not. Okay? It's something, a not that shows action. Notly, or not intensely, or not actively, just as kathos, and that comes from kata and hos, and you can look that word up on page 314, and I believe the other one's on page 208. Not as Cain. Now, do you remember what Cain means in Hebrew? That's a Hebrew word. Brought over here into English. Remember what Cain means, Mary?
I'm trying to think what it was.
All right, Cain.
Something about firstborn?
Gotten.
No.
Gotten.
Oh.
Gotten. When Eva, when she conceived and brought forth her firstborn, she said, "We have gotten a man, even the Lord." Gotten. We have gotten a man, even the Lord. Just as Cain, out of the evil. All right? Out of the evil. Meryl, could you go down and tell them to quieten down just a little bit?
I did.
Okay.
I told them, and they...
Just tell them you're going to go get somebody if they don't. Because tell them we're recording the classes.
I did. I told them that.
Okay, well, can you tell them one more time? Evidently, they didn't understand.
Okay.
If I had a mean old man, I'd send him out there. All I got's a woman. Panera.
I get pretty mean sometimes.
Yeah, I know, but it'll take you too long to get there and back. They can outrun you. You weren't slow at one time. About 65 years ago. It wasn't that long, 25 years ago maybe. Not just as Cain out of the evil. Now that word evil there, that's where we get the word pornography from. We get, it is a twisted, perverted evil. It is practiced. It is a malignity. It is a terminal evil. It is something that goes to nothing but bad. A malignity. Evil, and then we have the word ain there. Now that word ain means he kept on being. He kept on being. And not just as Cain, out of the evil, he kept on being, or continued to be. And then we have and kai, and now we have a butcherist term. This is a term that's, it is a horrible term. It means to slash and cut the throat of. To slash and cut the throat of. To butcher. The word jugulare in Latin comes from this. We get our word jugular from it. It means to cut the throat. It means to slash. And this word is used 5 times in the New Testament, by the way. Here, in Revelation 5 and 6, 5 and 9, and 5 and 12. In the New Testament, 4 times, I guess it is in the New Testament. Not 5, but 4 times. And it's kind of a rare word, but it shows a vicious slaughtering, butchering. He butchered his brother. Butchered ton adelphon. Now, do you remember what adelphon means? Jesus had adelphons and adelphes. All right? What does adelphon mean? Or adelphe?
Love,
What?
love,
No. Now, you keep getting that one mixed up.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Philadelphia. That means brotherly love. Okay? Adelphe. Adelphe means womb. Womb. And adelphe means from the same womb. So they... You did a good job this time, Marilyn. Real good. The brother. The one from the same womb. This child came from the same womb as his brother did. They were twin brothers, actually. The brother of him and Cain. Now that word, Cain, also, you can stand guard. The word Cain there means grace. Sometimes it means gift. And in this place here, it means for the sake of, or for the reason of. Why did Cain kill Abel? Why did he do it? You remember the story in Genesis, the 4th chapter?
So he could be the number one?
No. No, Cain was the number one child. He was the heir. Abel was never any threat at all to Cain. None whatsoever.
Jealousy?
There it is, jealousy. Jealousy is the father of almost all sin. What are the two great commandments in the Bible? There are two great commandments in the Bible. What are they? The two great commandments.
Love thy brother?
Well, that's one of them. Love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul, and then love your brother as yourself. Thank you. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your brother as yourself. Now, if you do all those things, you know, they came to Jesus and they said, what is the greatest commandment? He said they hinge on two things. Love God with all your heart, your mind, and soul, and your brother as yourself. Now, if you do that, you're going to keep all the commandments. But nobody has ever done it. Nobody has ever done it. Who kept on being evil and butchered, slashed the throat of the brother of him. And for the sake of jealousy, anger, envy. Now, what does this jealousy and greed do? You know, greed is probably the worst sin. Jealousy led to murder. It leads to cheating. It leads to gambling. It leads to lusting. All of these things. You want something that somebody else has, and you want it for nothing. You can go right by a big ranch, and you can look out there at this ranch and see how pretty it is and everything else, and say, I wish I had that. I want that. Now, probably they had a lot of work to get it there. And for the sake of this jealous anger, why? Now that why there, tenos, that's the interrogative pronominal adjective. And then we see this word here again, and it's third person singular, first aorist indicative active from froxo. He butchered, or he mutilated him, Abel. That's a third personal pronoun. It's accusative, singular, and masculine. That word auton there. Because hote, the ta erga, the works, plural. Now the word works there, the erga, that is a product of much labor and effort and work. work. The works, the product of employment of him, evil. Ponera. This malignant, practiced, perverted, twisted evil. They kept on being. Aim. The works, but the works. Now look at that day there. See that little day there? That's a weak adversative conjunction. You look that one up on page 268. And it means but. And then you go backwards to ta, but the works is what it's talking about, of the brother of him. And that, which brother is that? The brother belonging to him, genitive, singular, masculine. The brother belonging to him, and you can put in there, they were, they continued to be, because you've got a verb in there that's understood. That's what you call a practical substantive, but something that's there. They were righteous, they were pure, and they were just. The works of him were righteous, pure, and just. Now, Hebrews 11 and verse 4, Genesis 4 and verse 8, Matthew 5 and verse 37, Psalm 38 and verse 20, Proverbs 29 and verse 10, and John 8:40 and verse 41, and even Ephesians 3 and 1 and verse 4 correspond, or cross-references to this verse right here.
So what's the last word?
The last word is dikaya.
And what's that mean?
That means just. It comes from dikio. The verb is dikio. Delta, iota, kappa, epsilon, omega. Dikio. Let me well, I don't have anything to write it with, maybe. Where'd my pencil go? They must have rounded that up. Maybe I'll get another one here. Okay, that's the root of that word right there. Dikeo. And that means to be righteous, to judge correctly, is what it means, to judge correctly. It means to do the right thing, the just thing. And when it's dikaya, it means righteous deeds. Okay? Righteous deeds or just deeds. 3 and verse 13 now. Kai. Now the word kai there, do you see those big brackets? That's probably not in the original manuscripts. That's why they put the little brackets around it. Because these brackets like this means it probably was not there. But it's understood anyway. In some of the manuscripts it was there, and whether it's there or not, actually in the Greek mind, in Greek syntax, in the Greek idea, it's there anyway. So if you put it there, it doesn't make any difference. But you have to remember that this is a run-on sentence anyway. It just keeps on, the sentence just keeps on continuing on. Okay, 3 and 13. Kai, may, and then tha, ma, zete, adelphoi, a, mise, hemos, ho, cosmos. Now let's look at this verse and translate it. By the way, it cross-references over to John 3 and 6, and John 15 and verse 18, and John 17 and verse 14 also. And it says here, and not, ye, don't be in shock. Second person's plural, present, indicative, or imperative. Now, indicative means that it's happening, and it also could be in the imperative mode. Now, what does the imperative mode mean?
Command.
It's a command. Boy, you guys are really good here. Command. That's an order. And God orders us not to be in shock, or to marvel, or to wonder, or be struck out of our senses. Brothers, vocative plural masculine, adelphoi. And actually, the way you'd read this in English, it would say, brothers, don't be struck out of your senses, or don't be surprised. And then we have the word a there. Now, a is a first-class conditional in Greek. There's 4 kinds of conditionals in Greek. The first class conditional, in English, an if is an if, isn't it? It's if. It may or may not be. But in Greek, there's 4 kinds of them. The first class conditional means a condition determined as fulfilled. So how should that be translated? If the condition is determined as fulfilled, it means since is true. All right? Brothers, don't be shocked, since it hates you, or you all. It hates, mese. What's that word in Spanish? Mata? Wants to kill, to hate. All right? Third person singular, present indicative active from mesio. All right? Don't be surprised, don't marvel, don't wonder, brother, since the world, ye, look at that word, whole cosmos there. Now John 3:16 says, for God so loved what? The world, that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. God so loved the world. But what did the world do to God's Son? It murdered Him. It slashed Him. It cut Him. Why didn't they? They stabbed Him in the side. They nailed nails through His hands and through His feet. They butchered the Son of God, just like Cain butchered Abel. And what did that? Here we have false religion persecuting the truth. And that's what's going to happen. Now the world hates us. The world doesn't understand us because it is at enmity with God. It's diametrically opposed to God. Diametrically opposed to God. John 3 and 6. Let's go look at that for a moment, because here we have it's very close to this. Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. Nicodemus came to Jesus at nighttime. People make a big deal out of that. He came sneaked around at nighttime. Actually, it was more of a brave act, him going at nighttime, than it would have been in the daytime, because robbers went out at night. But Nicodemus probably had a guard with him from the Sanhedrin court, because in all reality, he's a representative of the Pharisees in the Sanhedrin court, because the way that he talked to Jesus, he said, we know. He wasn't talking about I know, it's we know. We as the Sanhedrin, we as the Pharisees know. All right? Three and verse 6. 3 and verse 5. And I'm going to read this to you from Greek. So, okay. Apokrite, esus, hemen, amen, elego, sui, on, me, tis, ganethe, ek, hidatos, kai, pneumatos, u, dunetai, eselthron, estain, basilia to theou. It says here, and caught up in speech Jesus, and said to them, most affirmatively, or amen, amen, I say to you, except one has born out of water, and the Spirit not, he is able to enter into the kingdom of the God. Okay? And then it says, the thing, let's translate it, the thing having been born out of the flesh, flesh is. All right? When you're born into this world, you are flesh, and you are sinful flesh, and you are condemned under the law. But the thing having been born out of the Spirit, Spirit is. And then verse 7 says, not marvel, not wonder. Don't be shocked because I told you these things. It is bindingly necessary for you to be born from above. All right? It says, don't marvel or don't be shocked. Again, it's necessary for you to be born from above. So Paul says that in his letters. John says that in both of his letters here in the Gospel according to John and in 1 John. Do you want to go?
Honey, they're down that way. I told every one of them.
What you need to do is go tell the teacher. Well, find out where the teacher is. The teacher's not doing his job.
What's happening every
Yep.
Wednesday.
Okay. 3 and verse 14. All right, 3 and verse 14. Hemas, or Hemes,
Hime,
Oidamen,
Oidamen,
Hote,
Hote,
Mata, Bebe, Kamen,
Mata, Babe, Kamen,
Ek,
Ek,
Tu,
Tu,
Thanatu,
Bantu,
Ace,
Abe,
Tain,
Tain,
Zoane,
Zoane,
Hote,
Hote,
Akapomen,
Akapomen,
Tus,
Tus,
Adelphus,
Adelphus,
Ho,
Ho,
Me,
Me,
Agapon,
Agapon,
Mane,
Mene,
En,
En,
To, Thanato.
Bonto.
All right. I entitled this little verse, Living a Life of Death. Living a Life of Death. And we've got some kind of a something for emphasis here. It's what we call an emphatic we on the front of it. An emphatic we. It says we. Right off. We. Now, we is in the first person plural perfect indicative active word oida, oidamen. It comes from oida, by the way. But that word, first person plural, starts off as we have known, doesn't it? If the verb has the person in it also, doesn't it? First person plural. So what we have here is we have known. We have known that. Now there's your conjunction right there. Hote, a conjunction or casual particle. If you want to write down page 294 where you can go look that one up, you can. We have known that we have been transferred. All right, the word transferred there. We have been transferred. We have been moved. We have been migrated. Migrated. First person plural, perfect indicative active. We have been migrated. It means to move, to transfer from one state to another. It means to migrate, like birds migrate. Okay? Like buffalo used to migrate across the plains. They would migrate and go for better food source. I remember watching that movie Grass. It was made about 1920-something. It was about the ancient Persians. And there was a chief of every village, like they have been for like 4,000, 5,000 years over there in Iran and Iraq and all those places. And they were down in the grasslands, and the grass was running out. And they say the grass is running out, so we have to migrate. And what they did was they took 50,000 souls, 500,000, 500,000 sheep, cattle, camels, horses, goats, and they moved 500,000, and they migrated, and they went everywhere. If you've ever watched that movie Grass, it was kind of a documentary, or an early documentary. They floated across rivers, they climbed up, and they went over mountains, and they took their shoes off in the snow and went over the snow-capped mountains in their bare feet. And they carried and drug all those animals because they had to move them, to migrate them from one place to the other, or they'd starve to death. Anyway, the chief, he decided to do that. If you ever get a chance to watch that movie, watch that migration. Well, he has migrated us out of death. Now, we just live around and swarm in death. But just like those sheep and goats and cattle and horses and all the livestock that they had over there, all of it, if they just stayed in that land, they would have starved to death, wouldn't they? So they had to move. Now, if we can keep on living, we can just be born into this world and we can just keep on living in this world. And pretty soon you're going to stop, your heart's going to stop, and you're going to quit breathing, and you're going to be dead. And you'll be double dead. Unless somewhere along the line you've been born again. You must be born from above or born again, like it said a little bit earlier. And once we've been born again, we have been migrated, we have been moved, we have been transferred out of the death. Look at that. Out of the death, the thanatos. Ek to thanatou. Now, that word thanatou is different. That word is separation. 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 The word for dead bodies is nekros in Greek.
What is it?
Nekros. Nekros. The word for dead bodies is nekros. All right? Nekros. That's a N-E-K-R-O-S, okay? And this one's D-I-K-E-O. If you bring it over into the English. Nekros. Nekros means a dead body, something that's dead. Something that has no more life in it. But thanatos is a spiritually dead. Now, you can be a vibrant, healthy person and be thanatos, spiritually dead. And you'll be just as dead as if when you're in a coffin, with no sign of life, because you're a living dead person. There was I think they made a movie here many years ago about the Night of the Living Dead or something like that. I used to see it in the movies, the Night of the Living Dead. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Many people, most of the people in the world, live a life of living death. They live a life of death. It says here, we have been transferred, we have been moved out of the death, out of the separation, unto ace, tame, zoe. Ace. Extension or limitation of thought or verbal action. That preposition there, you can look at that one up on page 119. In reference to, and through and into. Extension or limitation of thought or verbal action. It means that the action either goes backwards or forwards. And this time it's going completely forward and into the kingdom of God's Son. Looking all the way forward. Unto ace, tame, zoe. Now here we have another word. There's another word for life. We call, what is the study of living things? It's called what? In English. The study of living things. Zoology is one of them. Okay? And that comes from this word. And there's another one called biology. It's two kind of Greek words. I mean, most of your English medical terms and scientific terms come from Greek. Okay, now we have here, zoe, okay, but there is bios. Zoe is spiritually alive. Bios is physically alive. All right? We have two different words. We have a contrast of the words. These words are actually synonyms, but in some way they're not alike at all. Even though both of the words thanatos and nekros mean dead. One of them means separation, spiritually dead, and the other one means just physically dead. We're all going to die, people. We're all going to die unless the Lord comes and raptures us, like He did Enoch and Elijah. But we got the sentence of death in us. That's the sentence of nekros, not thanatos. We're all going to die. But once when we've been born again, born from above, our whole triune nature is sealed and earmarked for eternal life. The life that comes into us when we're saved, that Spirit of God, earmarks us, brands us forever to be resurrected and be with God. Having moved us out of death unto and through the life, Cain, Zoane. Now, Zoane is spiritual life, and Bios is physical life. It's not talking. Paul died, didn't he? How about Peter? Did Peter die? Yeah. How about John? John lived a long time. They say John might have lived to be 138 years old. That's a pretty old guy, isn't he? But he died just the same. are dead. Every one of the apostles. They're all gone. Unto the life, because we may love, or we love. Now here we have a first person plural, present subjunctive active, or present indicative active. I believe it should be translated because we love. Now, the idea of the subjunctive is there to some extent. But when you're born again, do you want to see people saved? Lee Kuster came by my house today and brought a big album there, and he was showing me pictures where he wanted to go out mauling. And the people that he dealt with and different pictures like that. What makes people want to go on mission trips? What makes them want to go? Agape. Agape.
Yeah.
You want to see people saved.
Right.
You want to lead them from death unto life, don't you? That's why you come to church, isn't it? So you learn something, so you can go tell others about the Lord. Unto the life, because we love. You could put down there, we love or we may love. The may idea is if we have passed from death unto life, then we do love, don't we? We love, we want people to be saved. So I would say that is in the indicative mode, we do it. But the decision is up to us when we surrender our lives to God. You can go off. Well, a person could go to church for 70 years and go to hell. Do you know that? Well, they're good. If you never surrendered your spirit to God, if you never surrendered your spirit to God, you could live to be 80 and go to church all your life and go to hell. Because you never made a decision to really surrender your heart to God. Because we love the tous adelphus, the brothers. We love the brothers. The one not ho, me, agapon, the one not loving. That word loving there, agapon, that's present participle active, nominative singular masculine. The one not loving, and then it's mene. That comes from meno. He remains, he lives, he exists in the what? Thanatos, spiritual death. He is dead. Now we talked about last week about how do you love. How do you love someone? How do you love your children? The word I love you is real cheap, isn't it? It's real cheap. You can say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. But how do you know that I love you? If I take your best interests above mine, then you know I love you, don't you? Is how I treat you. Pretty is as pretty does. I remember a guy say one time he went into this place of business. He said there was a beautiful woman in there. I mean, the woman was just knockout beautiful. And he looked at her, and boy, he was just marveling how beautiful she was. And then when she opened her mouth, he said she wasn't pretty anymore. Because her personality came out. She wasn't pretty. She just looked pretty. She wasn't pretty, she just looked pretty. You love someone when you show your love. You can say, I love you, but when you show your love, then you know it. How do you love your children? How do you love them?
By showing time with them.
By giving them time. By providing for them. Above yourself. Why, if you go out in the barnyard, and you watch a mama hen, it ought to tell you something. You go out there and you watch a mama hen, a mother hen, and she goes out there, if she finds a dainty morsel, does she eat it? Huh? If she finds her a good-looking bug or a worm, what does she do with it? She'll, and all the babies come running. and she gives it to them. And then she'll look for another one, and then she'll go, and here they come. A guy said one time that his barn burned down, and he had a hen in there with baby chickens. He went out there, and everything was pretty much gone. And he heard baby chickens peeping. And he looked over there in a straw pile, and well, it was actually a manure pile, and out there in this manure pile, down in this thing, was this, it was a hen all charred. And he walked over there and kind of kicked it a little bit, and out come the babies from underneath, or some of the babies that lived. She had covered them up with her own body and given her life to protect them. A bear. You out in the woods, and you mess with a she-bear, you got problems, don't you? Because she will kill anything that comes near her babies, her cubs. Because she will put her life on the line for them. A mother, a human mother, should put her children's life and their safety and their well-being, their schooling, whatever, above her own wants and needs. That's really what it should be. Or her own desires. And fathers, the same way. How do you know that your father loves you? By what he does, not what he says. By what he does, not what he says. How do you know if your brother loves you? By what he does, not what he says. That's just the way it is. Pretty is as pretty does. 3 in verse 15. Pos, ho, meson, tone, adelphone. Are these words getting familiar to you? Auton, anthropoktonos, estin, kai, oidate, hote, pos, anthropoktonos, uk, eke, zoane, ionion, and auto, menuson. We see the same words used over and over again, but with different endings, because Greek is an inflected language. Now we saw mene a while ago, now we see menon. And pos is an adjective, and it means everyone, but then we have ho and meson. Ho, that's nominative, singular, masculine, definite article. Anytime you see that ho, we know what case, number, and gender it is, okay? It's nominative, singular, masculine. If it was, this is a definite article now, ho, toheriskron, authoron, the definite article. If it's like this, it is masculine, nominative, masculine, singular. Right there, you know what the next, what the noun that it's describing is. If it was this, what would it be? Ho, toe. Toe would be neuter. That's neuter. Nominative, singular, neuter. Okay? And how about if it was hay? The definite article there was hay. That would be nominative, singular, feminine. Nominative, singular, feminine. I'm just giving you that example so you'll know this. All and each and every one, everybody, but each one, the one hating. Nominative, singular, masculine, present participle, and active. It comes from mesio, and now it's meson, the one hating. Now, participle is a continuing, rolling thing, kind of like a snowball. When you make a little snowball and you roll it down a hill, it picks up other snow, and it just gets bigger and bigger. Okay? That's kind of like a participle. It means a continuing thing. And it's kind of like a verb, but kind of like a noun. It's like nominative, singular, masculine. Okay? Present participle active. Present tense, like. It's participle, and it's active voice. And the one hating, tone adelphone, accusative, singular, masculine. That word tone there. Can you say with me the 8 cases of Greek? The 8 cases of Greek. Let's read them off here together. nominative,
Nominative.
genitive,
Genitive.
ablative,
Operative.
locative,
Locative.
instrumental,
Instrumental.
dative,
Dative.
accusative,
Accusative.
and vocative.
Vocative.
Now, in all reality, you've seen almost every one of them in the last 3 verses. Here we have the nominative case, and now we have the accusative case. Okay? Tone, adelphone, the brother, the one hating. The action, the object is going, the hate is going to the brother in it. The one hating, the brother, now we have genitive, singular, masculine, the case of possession. Ablative would be the case from where it came from. But now we have the genitive, the case of possession. The one hating the brother belonging to him. That's what auton means. Or autu, that is. Third person singular. Third person pronoun. Genitive, singular, masculine. And then we have the word anthropoktonos. Anthropoktonos. That means a human slayer. Now, we just talked about a cutthroat a while ago, didn't we? Like a pirate. The pirate was Cain, cutting his brother's throat, slaying his brother. In Hebrew, it's in the PL stem where he killed him, and it means it is intensified. He just slashed and slashed and slashed and cut. And we know that he cut his throat. Because the Bible says this, that he cut his throat. But he didn't stop cutting his throat. He slashed and stabbed and cut and cut and cut. And then now it calls him a manslayer. A human slayer. The word anthropos comes there. That's mankind, isn't it? And then we have the word poktonos. That means to cut his life off. That means to slay, to kill, to murder. He is a man murderer. He is a homicidal person. He is estin, third person singular, present indicative active. Not only was he, but he is always. Do you think Cain ever stopped being a pervert and a killer? You just study the history of his family and what happened to them. They had to be cut off because they were so wicked. His genetic structure was such as he bred hatred and rebellion. The one hating the brother of him, he continues to be, and ye understand, ye have understood. That's oidate, second person plural. Ye, perfect tense, that's completed action. Indicative mode, that's a statement of fact. And active voice, it means that the noun or the subject is doing that. Is the subject is doing the acting, is acting for himself. Ye have understood that all, each and every one, every manslayer, every homicidal maniac, not he has life. He doesn't have life. He's a living dead. He's the night of the living dead. He's the day of the living dead, and the night of the living dead, and the year, and the month, and every day. He continues to be a living dead person. Not he has life. He doesn't have spiritual life. He may have physical life, but he doesn't have spiritual life. And then here's another beautiful word here. And not he has eke, zon, ein, ionion, en, auto, genuson. He doesn't have life eternal in him. Eternal life. How do you get eternal life in you? How do you get eternal life in yourself? How does it get there?
When the Spirit of God comes in.
That's the Spirit of God comes in you and it seals you. It's God's down payment that He's going to redeem you for once and for all. You know, over the years I have, nearly everybody, sometime in the world, even after they're saved, they think they're lost, don't they? That's something we do. We have doubts in our lives and everything else, but some are doubting Thomases. Little rascal. Rewind it, it won't. Maybe it'll work, I hope. Some people just simply doubt their salvation all the time. And they'll come to places in the Bible and they'll doubt their salvation. They'll doubt it and they'll misinterpret it, because the Bible always tells us that we have assurance of God, God's assurance plan. That was our last week's class, God's assurance plan. He gives us assurance that we're saved, and He tells us how we might know that we have everlasting life. There are indicators. There are little thermometers, little gauges about your life that tell you that you have been saved, that you do have eternal life. There are things that, and what is the thing that John's talking about right now? Because when you're saved, you want to love your family. You want to bring them to the Lord. You want to live right before them so they'll want to come to God. You want to raise your children in church. If you're a mother or a father, you'll want to do that. You'll want to bring them. You will be very happy when they're saved. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was in the church and I saw something there that touched my heart. One of his name is Brother Porter. He was in my classes 10 or 12 years ago. And he was very faithful in my Greek classes. His wife is her name is Kwan. She works in the office. I think she's a accountant or something over there. And they got married, and of course, they got a little child coming out. And if you go over there in the children's building, you'll look up on there and you'll see this little baby girl there playing at the table. There's one mural on the wall there, a little photo mural on the wall, and you'll see this little kid playing, sitting at the table. Well, that was years and years ago. I got to see her. I remember when she was carrying that baby. I saw the little baby come out in life. I saw them raise that baby in church. And the other day, I saw that baby go forward and accept the Lord Jesus Christ as their Savior. Remember when I said, I got to go down there.
Yeah.
It's special when you see that. The parents love that child, and they've taken it to church. And they've given her all the best they can do. You know, your children may not go right. It's up to them. You don't know what they're going to do with their life. But you know what you're supposed to do with your life. What are you supposed to do?
Be an example.
Be an example to them. And show them the right way. Because sometimes we are the best Bible, the most perfect Bible that the world ever sees. We are it. Especially to our children. When a little child is 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old, they look to Mama, and that's God to them. Had a man call me on the radio. Well, he listens to me on the radio every night for the last 20-something years. Me talking on the radio. And I talk about the Lord as much as I can on there. I talk about a lot of things, try to make it entertaining. And I've had people say over the years, if I wanted to have my children listen to a ham radio frequency, I'd go to 3913 on 75 meters, and I'd let them listen to that. I wouldn't ever be afraid to let them listen there. Because I know that they're going to hear something good. And it's going to be safe for their ears and for their souls. And this man told me, his name is Zeth. He said, when I listen to you, and he'll write me letters and call me on the telephone every now and then. When I hear you out there on the radio, he said, you know what? In this world, you're the only God I know. That floored me. He said, you are what God is. That's what I expect God to be, is what you do. You know what? That's quite a responsibility, isn't it? Just think about that for a minute. Now, I've got to stay up on that pedestal. Yeah, we do. We have to stay. We have peers, don't we, that look up to us. You don't have to worry about peer pressure. You be the peer. Be the peer. And when you're a mother and a father, you are the peer. You're the one they're supposed to look to. When you go out in this world as a child of God, you are the peer. The world looks at you, and they want to see God in it. Your standards should not slide. Your standards should always be the same. Because they need stability, don't they? A child. You don't beat a child because you're mad at that child. You don't whoop on a child because you're mad at it. If you whoop on that child when you're mad, you're sinning. You whoop on that child when that child needs a whooping. And you do that then. Not because you don't feel good that day, not because you're mad, but because that child needs correction. And if you don't do that, and you have to do that every time, don't you? Whether you feel like it or not. I tell you what, I don't like whooping that kid today. I don't feel like correcting that child today. I don't feel like timing out and making sure it's timed out. Well, that's it. Because that child's going to look at you and you're going to see God in you. You're it. You're their example of God in their life. And if you don't do that, you don't love your children. If you don't do that, you don't love your brother. You don't love your sister. They ought to know, your family ought to know, that you are one stable person. That you are a standard. They ought to know that. Well, God's standards are not man's standards, are they? We always have a loophole for ourselves. We have loopholes for us. We have high standards for everybody else. But I'm going to tell you something. If you love your brother, you will try to live by God's standards. I don't care what the world does. You got to go that way. You got to go that way. That's the right way to go. Thank you for your attention tonight and the endurance of those hard seats and going through all of the uproar we've had outside of this thing. Marilyn, thank you so much for going out there and policing, politicking out there. The word is politike in Greek. It means to police. It means to police. All right? You police the little rascals out there tonight.
Yeah, I did. And they waved at me after a while.
And they slowed down too, didn't they? Because you were a standard that they had to obey.
Yeah.
Evidently their teacher wasn't watching them close enough.
I know.
Their mamas and daddies or something. All right, let's have a word of prayer, and I'm going to sick you on the world. I want you to go out and do something eternal this week. Father, thank you for your word tonight. Let it burn deeply in our hearts. And let us try to live the kind of lives that would be honoring and glorifying to you before our family, before our children, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever. Guide us this week and help us to be the kind of Christians we ought to be. Help us to be a blessing to somebody. Help us lead someone to the Lord in word, in deed, and in person. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
See.
I have a question.
Yes.
You're talking about people that can be around the church and people can lead them to the Lord.
Yes.
But I think about the little natives in Africa or South America that have no way of knowing about Christ. So, does God...
You worry about them, don't you?
I do.
Romans, the first chapter, answers that question. Nobody in this world that's ever lived is without a Bible. Because they see the Creator through the creation.
In the creation?
That's right.
Okay.
They always know there's a Creator there. That's the first thing. When you wake up and realize that all of this God made, there is a designer behind the design.
Well,
And everything is in order.
Look at the Aborigines and the people...
Are any of those atheists?
Well,
Are
they
they?
have their little, things that they do, their little ceremonies and things like that they believe in.
They believe in God, don't they? They believe in God.
I
They
don't
believe
know
in the
anything
Creator.
about
They don't want to offend the Creator.
No.
God will judge them according to what light they have. That's what Romans, the first chapter says. Now, it's our business to get out there with the gospel and tell them a more perfect way. All right?
I know
A
they
more
send
perfect way.
missionaries down to, cities,
Mhm.
but you think about these little villages and things, little places like that all they have is nature around them.
Yeah, that's right. They got a Bible all around them. And then the missionaries go teach them the more perfect way of the Lord. That's it. Thank you. Any more questions? All right. Thank you. Are you? Well, I know you're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning.
You're coming right along. You're pronouncing the words beautifully.